So, obviously we had been keeping an eye on this fire since it started. The day it started, we were coming home from Grand Lake, driving through the Kawanichi Valley. I see a plume of smoke on the horizon. And I turned to my wife and I said, "That's fire."
Yeah.
And I said, "It looks like it's somewhere up in the Never Summer range." But by the time we climbed up to Trail Ridge Road and got to Medicine Bow Curve, you could clearly see where it was coming from, and it was big.
Mm-hmm.
So we got home that night and started looking into it. Where was it? What location? And started following it every day. Fortunately, that gave Glenhaven a lot of time to prepare.
When the fire started on August 13th, it was the first night of our fire academy, just starting off a number of 18 brand new firefighters from different agencies, and we got word of the fire starting. We sent a crew and an engine up that night and spent the first 4 days working up on Highway 14 around Chambers Lake, starting to protect structures, seeing how quickly that fire grew in the first couple of days. And when we were up there, it jumped across Highway 14. And I think then in August, we realized there's nothing but continuous fuel between Highway 14 and the Estes Valley.
So we got a smoke report out that we thought was in the park. We sent some people up, and so we started doing a response at the same time as the Forest Service started doing a response. And so I was talking with dispatch and talking with the other Forest Service people, and we were trying to triangulate, where is this fire? Let's get the helicopter up. It being so far away from anything, the helicopter was the fastest way to get there. Gosh, by the time the helicopter even got there to give us size up, it was off to the races. You don't wish something like that any of your neighbors, but there's a sense of like, oh my gosh, it's on them, it's not on us. How can we help the best?
So we kind of already knew back then we were a little bit at the mercy of what was going to happen with the weather over the next couple of months, and hope is not a strategy is a saying that we hear often from Mike Llewellyn in Rocky Mountain National Park. And it was absolute, but at that point, all we had was hope. It's like, okay, I hope this doesn't make it further south. Jumping forward to September, Labor Day weekend, we had the large wind events, the front coming in, and that pushed the fire down into northwest corner Rocky Mountain National Park. And again, the fire came to the forefront of our concerns because it was working its way up into the Poudre drainage, and we were really worried about Chapin Pass and having the fire push down and cross over into the Fall River drainage.
My first impression was if it comes towards the park, we're actually looking pretty good. Hague Creek is completely boxed in with tundra. It didn't, it would have to fight against the wind in order to make it down into the Kawanichi. And so it was like, okay, well, this isn't so bad for us. It's like that area, with all the bark beetles is ready to burn, kind of needs to burn. And so I wasn't too concerned until I flew over Chapin Pass. And Chapin Pass is up at the head of Chapin Creek, kind of in the upper reaches of the Cache-la-Poudre drainage. And over that, and my memory did not serve me until I flew over it to go, oh man, there is continuous fuels up and over. And if it gets up and over, that's where our Willow Park cabin is.
Yeah.
And that's Fall River drainage. So Fall River drainage goes right into town.
Given the terrain through there, it was another time that we knew there was nothing we could do about the fire where it was, other than hope that the snow got here in time. And so all through Labor Day weekend, we're have our trigger set up about if we're going to need to evacuate. We're doing the same sort of structure triage that we did up on Highway 14. We're now doing in our own community. and starting to increase that presence and put together plans. And then we got the snow on, what was it, September 8th. So we got the snow and the fire stopped and everyone was able to take a sigh of relief. And then come October, we saw that the fire had blown out of the Pingree Park area and was starting to move down towards Glen Haven, and we were watching Cameron Peak, coordinating with the team, coordinating with Glen Haven Fire. And on October 14th, we got the call that they needed to evacuate Glen Haven.
When that fire did come down Penick Pass and down the Miller Fork drainage and got into the retreat, it made a pretty big run on a red flag day. I think it was a 12-mile run that day. I think it was October 14th.
Okay.
The first thing we did was assisted Larimer County Sheriff with the evacuation.
Obviously it was dry all summer. We had a number of starts, through June and July even, but starting in August, we had the Williams Fork fire over here that went, if I recall right, about 20,000 acres eventually. And quite a few small starts that, we were able to get under control the first day, things like that. We, a couple around Monarch Lake, up by Lake Granby, and a couple, Old Park over by Kremling and Deep Creek over by Kremling, some sizable stuff. But of course, what was going on at the same time was, Cameron Peak fire was going on in Larimer County there, and the Mullen fire up in southern Wyoming that eventually came down into Jackson, Larimer County was going on. And just to the west of us, the Middle Fork fire was going on near Steamboat. In August, there was Grizzly Peak fire was just west of us and put a lot of smoke in the air, as was the Pine Gulch fire. And so, I think as a community, this year was tough. Not only, was everybody kind of learning to deal with this COVID thing and the political aspects of all that, just a lot of stress to start with. But I think most of us were living under smoke clouds most of the summer. And, for us here in Grand Fire, we call initial attack, which is just, that first call, first one out on scene. And because we're central in the county, we do a lot of mutual aid to the other agencies. So anytime one of the other agencies has a working structure fire, a working wildland fire, we typically get asked to come assist. And our summer consisted a lot of that kind of work. But as we got into the fall, we started getting more involved with some of the extended attack fires. For instance, the Williams Fork went on for months and months. And, I think on October 14th, the East Troublesome started in outside of the Old Park subdivision over near Kremling. And incidentally, for our agency at that time, we actually had just put, I think, a total of 8 people on quarantine. And including myself, I was in quarantine for a known exposure and not in the office, was kind of working from home. And
I am a public information officer, so I go out on wildfires across the country. When COVID hit, we stood up our county-wide Type 3 team. And so we were all working together on COVID. We had, of course, all the players, all the fire districts, the county, the sheriff, the police, public health, all of the players in the county, right? In June, went on fire assignment to the Bighorn Fire in Arizona. And right after that, I did a virtual assignment for the Police Fire in Arizona. And then I came back from that, and the Williams Fork Fire had started.
Yep.
So I was a public information officer for the Williams Fork Fire, starting out with a Type 3 team, which is like everyone's just getting organized, and basically it's the Forest Service. And they're grabbing people, hey, can you help? Can you help? And then as soon as they realize, hey, this is too complex for us, we need to order a Type 2 team. Well, then I went and worked for them. So I was on that fire for almost 50 days. It lasted a really long time. And because I'd worked for so long on fires, my friend, who's also a public information officer in Eagle County, we had plans to go to Florida for a little relaxation, R&R. And so we had our tickets, and the East Troublesome Fire started on October 14th on a Wednesday. And the forest called and said, hey, can you come help us? And I said, I'm so sorry, I would love to, but I have a plane ticket.
Yeah.
And then I felt tremendous guilt because there was a fire in my county.